Good morning, 7th grade. It's Miss Price here, leading our morning meeting for February 9th. All right, before we get started on our objectives and our reading activity, I would like for you guys to put in the chat, what is your first memory of reading? Maybe you remember being read to by a family member or by a teacher. And what was the first book that you remember reading to yourself? So go ahead and put that in the chat. Advisors, you might want to pause this video and check on the chat and lead that discussion. And now we will move on to our objective. So Falcons will be able to find joy in listening to a read aloud and also discuss important stories and storytellers in their lives. I was inspired by World Read Aloud Day, which was last week. It was February 3rd. When I saw that on the Denver Public Library's Instagram, it inspired me for this morning meeting. So we are going to listen to a read aloud of the story Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. It is one of my favorite stories. I have read it to almost all of my classes, definitely all of my classes when I taught elementary school. And I would like to share this story with all of you. It's also near and dear to my heart because it is Reading Rainbow, which I grew up watching, and I just absolutely love the program, and I hope you enjoy this story. Advisors, your two options are to pause my video, and then you'll see this YouTube video on the next slide for our morning meeting, or you can just go ahead and move forward with my video and play the story at the end. Either way, it will work. All right. So I hope you enjoyed the story, or if you have not gotten to listen to the read aloud quite yet, you will enjoy it at the end of my video. And then I'd just like to take a minute to share with you some important storytellers or important people in my life related to reading. The first one is my uncle. Okay, you can see his picture there with his big smile. He is a very important storyteller to me because when I was growing up, he was a truck driver. So he'd always he had a big rig, and every time he'd come and visit us for the holidays or even between holidays when he was driving through Colorado, he'd come visit, and he always had these great stories to share. They were hilarious. He would start almost every single sentence with a curse word, and I would die laughing every time. He passed away a few years ago, but we still share all of his stories when we're together as a family. And so he's just a very important storyteller in the Price family. And then I'd also like to share this cute boomerang of my sister and I drinking butterbeer. She is also really important to me in terms of my life as a reader, because she is the one who first really inspired me to read. She has always been a very avid reader. She's about 13 years older than me, and so as I was getting older, she would share the books and stories that she grew up with. I remember doing a lot of the Choose Your Own Adventures that were from her childhood, or Chronicles of Narnia was a series that she shared with me that she read as a kid, that then I read as a kid. Harry Potter came out when I was 8 years old, and she was an adult. However, she bought me those books, and then we would read them together and then talk about them. And so I've just was very blessed in my life to have a great an oral storyteller by my uncle, and then an avid reader in my sister. And so I would like to give you guys the rest of this time this morning to discuss with your advisory if there is like a person in your family or maybe even like your friend group or just like family friends that you share stories with, or maybe just someone you know who just always has excellent stories that you love listening to. And also, like, what stories or books are important to you and why? And so please feel free to use the chat or like raise your hand to share out loud. And advisors just continue the rest of that discussion. If you have not watched the read aloud, the Reading Rainbow read aloud, go ahead and use the last 10 minutes to do that. If you guys have already watched it, I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I do. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, 7th grade.